hi, I want a job.
I will
But
cut that.
Tide, I don't know who you are.
You can use the same deck, just put it different colors.
No, but right, once you reach partner, it's like, oh, my dreams came true. I'm done.
No work-life balance confirmed.
Big RBC name.
What?
No,
like I.
That's crazy.
Okay, we need to audit these people and realize that this was not only a stage to get a job. This was, life.
Yeah.
I should start hiring some people who will help me with that.
I know. Once your podcast blows up, you can have a whole crew.
Yeah, well, I should hire some unpaid interns. That's my strategy.
My introductions have changed so much from when I was a student to when am now, I guess, someone that's working. But as you know, my name is Erin. I still consider myself a new grad because it hasn't been a full year yet since I graduated. But I graduated from Rotman Commerce with a degree in Bachelor of Commerce, specialization in management, focuses in marketing and strategy and innovations. Gotta add the minor in economics in there because I worked hard for that. The first time I ever got corporate experience was after second year as a marketing intern for RBC Ventures, or RBCX, I believe. Now they've rebranded themselves. But there I mostly did SEO work, which is like blogs, editing, and a lot of social media strategy, because I was supporting across 2 different startups that RBC had acquired. It felt more like a startup vibe than a big corporation vibe, but it was nice because I had that big RBC name. It was definitely a great learning experience, but I think what I realized is I wanted to be in a space where I'm selling physical products, like I'm actually seeing the products on the shelf, or I'm creating a marketing campaign that I see in store or on TV. And that's when I kind of shifted gears into CPG. And the year after that, I interned as a brand management intern at Procter & Gamble, specifically with the beauty team. And there was, Procter & Gamble, for those that might not be familiar, it's like one of the I think it might be the world's biggest. Don't quote me on that. But one of the biggest, one of the biggest CPG firms where they have a bajillion brands. You can't walk into a Superstore or Shoppers or really any store and not see.
To give just some examples, I think Gillette, the shaving
Gillette,
brand, Colgate, the toothpaste, I think, is owned by them.
Oral-B is owned by them. I believe Colgate is a competitor.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I will cut
Tide, but Tide, Always, Olay, Old Spice, Pampers, the diaper brand. They just own a huge house of brands. But it was a fantastic experience working there. I got a bit more experience into high-level brand strategy. What does building a brand look like in the short term versus the long term, right? Like, what are in-store marketing tactics versus out-of-store marketing tactics? And overall, it was a fantastic experience. But I think one thing that I found about working in CPG was that I realized that the people you see every day, they're all incredibly brilliant, intelligent people, but it is kind of the same. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because I did really enjoy working with the people that I did. But I felt like earlier on in my career, I wanted to be in a position where I'm just consistently meeting new people and constantly building relationships, and being almost kind of forced to be in a position where I need to make these relationships to survive, basically. And CPG, it's you do work with the same internal and external team all the time, really. So
there's not so much exposure to external clients.
Exactly. And like, because I was more on the brand management side and not on the sales side, I didn't even get to engage with the clients as much, with the retailers. So even though I love the people, I was like, I want to be in a little bit more of a different type of environment. But it was actually really hard for me because I thought CPG was like end all be all, like that's the place I wanted to be. But I decided to make that switch, and applied and thankfully made it so to Deloitte Digital. So currently I'm a business analyst with the Deloitte Digital team, and specifically under the we just got a new name for our team actually, so it's creative brand and marketing. Other than that though, my passions lie in mentorship. So I've actually been a part of a lot of mentorship organizations. I've actually founded one at one point myself that helps and pairs people that share similar interests and really drive that learn from others and their experiences type of relationships. Other than that, I'm also a really big foodie, I always say. So if
What
you
kind
need,
of food?
oh my gosh, well, I'm primarily really like Asian food by default. But I've been kind of creating like a list of all the new restaurants I want to try in Toronto and kind of ticking off the list.
You should publish it, you know.
I should. I'm kind of, not to toot my own horn, but some people are like, you should have like a food like Instagram or
Vlog?
something. Yeah. And it's something I'm interested in, but I need to learn how to take better photos, I think. But yes, very long-winded intro, but
You mentioned mentorship, and if someone is interested in being mentored by you or at least connecting with you, how should they reach out? What should be the pitch?
yeah, of course. Oh, the pitch. Oh my gosh. So one of the tips that I always provide to students that ever ask for like, how can I reach out to an employer and actually get them to notice me through LinkedIn, is you do a heavy amount of stalking and you find something on their profile that isn't just about work. Like, for example, this one recruiter I really wanted to connect with, like she was just super cool, worked at a company that I really wanted to join. And while doing the LinkedIn stalking, I realized that she got a certification or like an acknowledgement from the company about her equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives that she's running in the organization. So when I reached out to her and kind of like sent that initial cold message, I said, hi, like I'm actually really passionate about learning how you are bringing that DEI perspective and how you're prioritizing that in the organization. I would just love to hear about your experiences with that. And I didn't even say like, I'm interested in the company, I'm interested in the role, I know you're hiring. I didn't say any of that. I just said like, I noticed that you got that recognition and that's something you're passionate about. I am also passionate about that and want to learn from you. It's not always that easy though. Like not all employers have an extensively filled out LinkedIn page.
Not as much of an online presence, especially if these are more senior people.
Exactly. But I think doing your best to kind of find something that they can relate to. And even if you think about it the other way, right? Like if you get like 50 messages, people saying, hi, I want a job, versus one person that says, hey, like, oh, I saw that you're really interested in mentorship. Like, tell me about how you brought that to light at school. Tell me about how you brought that to light at work. Because one thing is people, and most corporate people, love to talk about themselves. So if you can find a way to connect with them and kind of, boost their ego a little bit in that sense.
Especially people who work in consulting.
Yeah, I agree.
They like talking.
Yeah,
number one.
Exactly.
And because they work in consulting, they love themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you can find like a joint topic of conversation, most people won't be like, ew, I don't want to talk about me with you and my experiences with you, right? As long as the genuine like curiosity shows through.
I agree. I would also say like I'm trying. I yesterday applied to do a TEDx talk. So maybe I will do it in a year.
Oh
but
my gosh.
I want to do it about networking, and specifically about the idea that networking process and the process of meeting people should, I think people over-focus on the career aspect of it, and they fail to see an actual human being.
Yes.
So if I'm able to connect with someone with about the topics which are not necessarily related to pure like industry
Yeah.
or pure work,
Right.
I think is significantly better,
I
right?
agree. And I've met so many incredible friends at Rotman that are just so brilliant, doing amazing things in their own industries, right? And I've actually had, I think I was in third year, and a first year came up to me and was like, oh, like I noticed that a lot of your friends are like execs in the Rotman clubs and like are have all of this internship experiences. Like, how did you meet them? And I was like, oh, like at a party, you know? Like, I have never built a genuine, true friendship where it's an event
Pure
or
work.
a setting where it's supposed to be just for, like pure work or like just networking. If you're trying to meet someone in a networking environment, you still need to remember to be personable, to actually be liked as a human being, instead of just saying, oh, I want to build this relationship with you and connect with you on LinkedIn. Like, that's not how you build genuine relationships.
The question that I typically ask to people who I also have tried to mentor, who are a bit of like in junior years, I ask, let's say you met this person and they give you a referral. Would you ever reach out again? And if the answer is no, if you go with this mentality that I need referral and that's it, the relationship is ending there.
Yeah.
People feel it, and
Yeah.
this will probably not work out. Even if it does work out, I don't think it's a viable long-term strategy, right?
No, exactly. And like, I think exactly like you said, like, I think you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person you want to connect with. Like, if a random like second year U of T student comes up to me and is like, can you like refer me to Deloitte? I'll be like, I don't know who you are. But if it's a friend that I've worked with and I know their work ethics and they're great, even without them asking, I'll be like, hey, there's a job opening, you should apply. Right.
So you will help them,
like,
without even them necessarily asking.
Yeah, like, I'm someone who really values that like mentorship or kind of providing guidance to younger students, and if they seek it and they deserve it, then I will do everything I can to provide them with that opportunity. But if I don't know you and just come up to me, I don't know who you are. Right.
Is Deloitte Digital, like, is the application process for Deloitte Digital different from Deloitte? Is there a different website? Because I know there's a Monitor Deloitte who is like partially a separate entity. Monitor Deloitte is a strategy portion, or like a pure strategy portion for Deloitte. Is that the same case for Deloitte Digital?
So Deloitte Digital is similar to Monitor in the sense that it is kind of like a brand, like a sub brand within Deloitte. I believe if you're applying as a student, it'll just show up as like a Deloitte posting, Deloitte job posting. I personally found the posting through the Rotman job portal. And in terms of like job postings, you will find it on the Careers Deloitte site.
So you will apply as a normal consultant or BA, business analyst in the case of Deloitte, and within the application you can specify your intention of specifically working for Deloitte Digital.
So I believe Deloitte Digital will have a separate job posting. It might not be titled Deloitte Digital. When I applied, it was titled Advertising, Marketing, and Commerce Consulting. So I actually didn't know that Deloitte Digital was a separate team. I just was like, oh, it's like the marketing and digital strategy arm of Deloitte, which it is. So you'll still find the job posting on the Careers Deloitte site, or if you're a student, it'll just show up as Deloitte.
But you still work together with the rest of the Deloitte in the sense it's the same office, you share the same coffee machine and so on.
Yeah, exactly. I think the beauty of Deloitte that I really love is a lot of the projects that we work on are cross-functional. So there's people that I've worked with in human capital, in Monitor, in so many different industries, in risk advisory. Like, I would never think as a student, like, oh yeah, I'm just doing marketing consulting, but there's actually so many different brilliant brains that can come into certain projects. And for certain projects, the scope is big enough where we need specializations from many different teams. So in those opportunities, you actually get a lot of exposure into other leaders and other industries and other specializations in the firm, which is really great because there's also cases where people can go explore different teams and try projects on different teams and come back, right? So there's many cases where people on my team, they're like, oh, I kind of want to do more work in FSI, right? Financial services industry. Then they'll find and connect and network with leaders that are very specialized in that area. They will work on projects for FSI with that leader and then come back to our team with the newfound knowledge that they got. So it really is a free space where if you express that you want to learn something, or if you express that you have an interest in an industry or a technology or whatever it may be, it's actually quite easy for you to find those opportunities for yourself, experiment it, right, with different projects. And if you love it, great. If you don't love it, you can say, okay, I'm glad I tried that out. Let me come back to my kind of home room, right, my core team, and try something new.
But how would your partner or your project lead react to the fact that, hey, I'm just going to go to a different project for 6 months and will not work for your team, right? Isn't that kind of a threat of local loyalty?
Well, maybe the culture is different for each team, but for our team, our partners are so extremely supportive on things that we want to learn. And I think it's not, and it's also the way you should approach it. Like, you shouldn't approach your partner being like, I hate being on your team, right? But I think if you express that you have an interest, and I think another really important thing is showing your partner that you have
intention of coming back.
Not even necessarily, but it's just that you are showing your partner like, hey, like these are my interests. This is what I've done so far to kind of explore that interest. I would really appreciate it if you can maybe like connect me with leaders that you know that are in this industry or such, and I would love to learn more. Now, the partners can fully say, hey, our pipeline is really full. We need all hands on deck. Then you should be kind of understanding, of course, because your team comes first, and say, okay, great. Like, I just wanted to express this interest to you, and it's something that I'm learning in my own time. But of course, I would love to support your projects. A lot of partners, and from most of the conversations I've had, of course, if you're in a project right now, like, you should prioritize that project. Always, client work always comes first. But they are willing to connect, being like, oh, hey, actually, one of my friends in human capital, like, he actually specializes in the industry. Let me connect you with him. You can have a coffee chat with him. And it goes from there. But I've never had a leader at Deloitte say, oh, like, you're not doing your work by exploring other interests and trying to learn new things, right? They're always encouraging of that.
But you're saying that every time someone wants to try working for a different team, they should discuss it within their team leads first. Like, you cannot just come there and be like, hey, I just found a new project. I'll be working for Monitor for 6 months.
Well, I would recommend having that conversation, but I understand that not every team vibe, for lack of a better word, right? Not every team vibe and interaction and relationship is going to be the same. But I do recommend speaking to a mentor or your coach at Deloitte. You get a coach. Like, speaking to someone that maybe you're a little bit more comfortable with and that you maybe respect the way that they work, and have that conversation saying, hey, I'm really interested in kind of exploring this field. This is what I'm working on right now. Can you give me a hand in maybe how I can navigate this? Right. And most of the time, or at least from my experience, everyone has been like, okay, here are 3 names that you should coffee chat. They're all amazing to explore more. Or at the end of a coffee chat, someone will be like, oh yeah, like, if you want to learn more about this industry that I'm specializing in, we can set up like monthly connects, or you can maybe help me with this proposal if you want to learn more. Like, no one has ever stopped me or warned me about learning too much.
A bit about your work in Deloitte Digital. You work for customer strategy and brand marketing.
So the bigger umbrella I work under is customer strategy and design. And within that team, I'm in the creative, brand, and marketing. This, I'm pretty sure I can say it externally, but my team mostly specifically focuses around everything customer. So I know that sounds very broad, which it is. You can kind of see it from like a brand strategy and marketing lens. You can also see it from a marketing technology lens. Anything that's kind of related to customer needs is basically covered within our team. Our broader team, I would say. Specifically within the team that I'm on right now, most of our focus is brand strategy work. So that can be like completely like rebranding a brand, or can be if a brand is kind of falling off the market, like how can we maybe pivot what we're doing with the brand to resurface it. There's work like that, but there's also work with marketing technology, and that is honestly something that I didn't know existed when I was an undergrad, but it's one of the coolest things now. There's so many different technologies out there that supports with your marketing campaigns, in you managing your digital assets, whatever it may be. So our team also does a lot of work in helping organizations discover what technology would be best for them, actually helping them like implement the technology, and then also helping them maintain and upgrade the technology as needed. So the scope of work is quite big. Our team also does a lot of agency type of work, so the creative design and actually like making those campaigns and videos and filming it, like designing it, like all of that. So I would say our team does the full end-to-end scope of marketing that you can imagine, which is great because I've been on projects where I'm supporting with very much like, oh, like helping a company understand like what is a brand, like why is a brand important, right? But I've also done and supported with work that's like, okay, like every day you're working with engineers, you're working with product developers, right? You're working with very much heavily like on in the code almost. So the scope of work that I get to kind of experience on this team is quite big, and something that I honestly didn't know existed in marketing, to be honest.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, for example, an example of a like imagining a project for a customer strategy would be, let's say, Walmart wants to expand the typical customers it has and explore a more high net worth individuals, right, and create a more premium
Absolutely.
locations. They go to you and they explore how would they both create it and how would they brand it to the world, like what kind of marketing platforms would they use? What kind of
Exactly.
campaigns would they create?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So, and to be honest, I'm still new, so there's types of projects that I probably haven't even heard of yet, to be honest. Like that's how much our team, I think, has the ability to do. It's a lot of client requests that we have. Another thing that's so great about Deloitte and other big four firms as well is you have all the successes of your previous projects. So you have that industry knowledge, right? So if you like led a client into, let's say, a really successful customer strategy project, you still have people
Leverage this
that
experience
that
for
has
future use.
insights from this project that you can leverage and kind of apply for future projects.
Can use the
right?
same deck, just put a different colors.
No, but but honestly, like I do think there's a lot of frameworks and a lot of ideologies that Deloitte as a company, and I'm sure other big four companies, like I said, they have, that is their biggest asset. And those are kind of insights that not very many companies have, right? So being able to learn from that and then also helping clients like see what the best in class practices are for what they desire, it's really rewarding.
Hopefully, I'm not threatening PwC by inviting second person from Deloitte in a row. I will collect all Big Four before I have any person from PwC. PwC seems to have the strongest NDA policies, so I cannot just get anyone. I have the most amount of connections there, obviously, because I'm going there.
Right.
But they just can't come.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it also very much depends person to person.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming.
No, of course.
A bit about marketing technology. I want you to give us some consulting for free. So what trends and what features that you see would would come up in the trend in the world of marketing technology in the next couple of years besides AI?
If you say besides AI, that's like excluding everything.
Mm.
Like,
How do you think AI will affect the marketing strategy in general then?
This is really hard, and this is actually something that I think all firms are working on, and I've read a lot of articles regarding this topic. Gen AI, a lot of people are like, is it going to replace my job? Like, it knows so much more than me, it's so much quicker than me, so much more productive than me. But I think what we're really trying to understand right now, and this is not like a Deloitte specific thing, this is just based on my research, is how can we upskill humans so that they know how to use AI effectively instead of how can AI take over all of our jobs, right? And specifically from a marketing lens, I do think there's still so much value in creative designers. And of course, there's value in them, but what I mean by that is AI is not at a point where it can just make creative assets like, oh, like I know with the new like meta features on Instagram and such, you can say like, oh, like show me a person like eating ramen in a hot tub and it'll just make it for you.
Have you
right?
heard a new customer policy with Adobe platforms? Do you know what happened?
No.
What is happening over the past couple of weeks? So big news in the place of creative marketing in general that some people are trying to boycott right now the Adobe services, which I use, by the way, for editing, because the platform now forces everyone to sign the new, what is it, the terms of agreement, where every single thing that you create on Adobe can now be used to train AI, and it now also becomes the property of Adobe Corporation, so they can also resell it. So, for example, let's say I edited my podcast using Premiere Pro, the program in their family. They can now sell the final product that I have created, and they can now use it to train AI to make something else. Every single click that I do, every single mouse movement, every single cut that I make, they are going to use that to train their AI to basically replicate this type of work. And just, I don't know what will happen, but this is what is going right now. So some of the top creators, they're trying to boycott it, so their work is not being sold, number one, and number two, they're not being, like cashiers who are being who right next to them there's a self checkout, and they're slowly being replaced by this technology.
Yeah, and
sorry, I didn't want to.
No. And it's something.
Create a negative mood.
No, not at all. I think with AI though, I think what a lot of leaders are trying to focus on is how can AI help workers be more productive? How can AI help marketers stop doing the menial everyday tasks like copy and pasting and doing all of that, but like how can AI like organize things quicker so that marketers can grab that information and run with it, right? Instead of marketers sitting there like reorganizing the information. So I think they're trying to leverage AI more in a sense where it is a very helpful, productive tool. Now, of course, AI and generative AI is developing at a speed where no one can like be completely on top of it 24/7, right? So it is a constant conversation for us in the organization, but also just in the world. And in terms of how it will affect marketers, to be honest, I am hopeful that it's going to be a tool that allows for better like customer analysis, like being more productive and efficient in everyday work that marketers typically do. Like maybe AI, and not maybe, it's already doing it, will help us track campaigns and produce reports much quicker without needing to do those menial tasks, right? So
maybe you have an opportunity to provide a more personalized ads and recommendations.
Exactly, and it's already doing that, right?
Imagine an ads that is not so, because every single time we create a brand campaign, this is typically a single brand campaign targeting everybody.
Yeah.
We can customize to which people we show this campaign, but it's still the same campaign. Now imagine if through the power of AI, the AI can analyze the customer and provide different versions of the same campaign to different people. That would be pretty amazing.
And it's, I think that's coming very soon. Like, these are things that are already in the works for so many companies, right? But I think, just to kind of summarize, I think the growth of AI specifically in marketing will ideally, and as a marketer myself, I would hope that it allows marketers to focus more on the blue sky and strategy of marketing instead of doing the very menial tasks that makes us less productive.
Fair enough. When you started talking about marketing, I realized I might have a very interesting film recommendation for you.
Okay.
That is related to. That's the only marketing TV show I know. Have you heard about the show called The Madman?
No, I haven't.
So it's about a top marketing firm that provides marketing consulting in 1950s or 1960s. I will definitely send it to you after this podcast.
That sounds so cool.
But it's an amazing show because they are talking about a time where like consulting didn't really exist. At least the name of consulting didn't exist. It existed in a different version. So top brands come to this real agency in New York, and they create different campaigns and strategize. And so I think I just realized that this is the show for you.
Yes, please. I would love to watch it.
One of the most famous moments from this show was that the tobacco company comes to this agency, and these are 1950s, and so for the first time the government have decided to impose some first restrictions on the tobacco industry to so the government now claims, and this is a real story, what happened in the 50s. Before that, everybody smokes in the planes in front of their babies and so on. They now impose the restrictions that tobacco causes like severe consequences for your body, and so the tobacco industry cannot claim that their products are healthy.
Right.
And so everybody is super worried, because how we gonna advertise everything, right? You cannot like romanticize it that easily. People associate tobacco with death, and they come to this agency, and agency also doesn't know what to do. But then one man comes up with an interesting idea. So there are 5 tobacco companies in US who all create very similar product.
Okay.
And he tells them that, well, actually, this restriction provided you a unique opportunity. How do you make your tobacco? And they say, well, we first grow it on the plantations, then we and they say we toast them. And he says, okay, well, we claim that our tobacco is toasted. And they're like, well, it's nothing special. Every other tobacco is toasted. He says, well, no, other tobacco is poisonous. Your tobacco is toasted. And their competitors cannot dispute it, because their competitors cannot dispute that their tobacco is healthy.
Right.
So they created this new campaign that their tobacco is poisonous, our tobacco is toasted, and this is what helped them.
Oh my gosh! Wait, please send me
and the whole show is about them coming up with these unique, creative campaigns about how to promote certain products.
Right.
So they will definitely send it to you. You can go for a master's degree. Are you planning to do something like that?
I do want to pursue a master's degree, but I think the challenge now is I've always wanted an MBA, but now there are so many business-related degrees that are more specific, more niche, more, I think, relevant to the changing industry demands that are masters of, for example, like MMA, which I believe it's like a analytics.
Management analytics, the Rotman program.
Yeah, that one. Or like there's so many other types of masters that clearly I haven't explored yet, but I'm hearing all these people doing anything that's not an MBA, but getting so much value out of those master's degrees because they're learning something that's more specific. I still think obviously there's a huge value that comes with an MBA, and it's not that I'm completely vetting those out of my options, but now I'm like really trying to explore, like outside of school, now that it's fully up to me to build my career. There's no courses that are assigned to me, right? So now that it's fully up to me to build my career, like what do I want to learn? Like what am I genuinely interested in? And what is something that's not put on the plate for me? Now I have to go searching for that, right? So I'm still kind of in that transition phase from a student to someone who's working full time and trying to find ways that I can consistently keep learning so I can stay relevant and still in demand in the job market.
Right, because I would say that MBA for me seems just like a master in consulting. Like majority of people who go into MBA program.
That's true, because it's very case based.
Yeah,
MBAs are very case based.
A huge percentage of students have an idea in mind that they would like to explore an opportunity to work in consulting post MBA,
right?
Or get back to consulting,
right?
For you, perhaps because you have such an extensive background in marketing, maybe master in marketing would be.
It is something that I'm exploring, but I also think a huge value of going to a business related master's degree is the network of people that you meet.
Absolutely.
And the opportunities that the school can provide as well. So I feel like when I'm choosing my master's, I'm also very heavily looking at, okay, where did the alumni end up that went to this program? What are the types of opportunities that the school offers in terms of networking, but also actually learning about people from different firms and how integrated is the community to the working industry. So those are things that I think I'm considering a lot more in my master's degree versus what I would have considered for undergrad.
And I think you should still consider these points in undergrad because this selection process for a top firms is still highly based on the school and the sub-program that you have attended.
Yeah.
So yeah, but do you have a school in mind?
Ooh,
It will be on camera, so
please take me.
if you say Princeton and then Yale finds it, they'll be like, wow.
Honestly, so I've spoken to a few Rotman alumni, as well as just peers from work that studied in the States, like UPenn, obviously a fantastic school, like Northwestern, also a fantastic school, NYU. Of course, there's the Stanford and Harvard and all of those schools as well. But to be honest, I feel like I want to meet more people that went to those schools and hear about their experiences before I make a decision. And realistically, I don't think I'll go pursue a master's, at least for the next 3 to 4 years. So I'm just kind of starting my journey now on doing the research. But then again, like 3 to 4 years can change things. There may be new programs that are maybe more relevant to AI or more relevant or more specific to marketing technology that might be more interesting. So it's very much up in the air for me, but a lot of cool things are popping up here and there. And I'm like, even more when I was a student, I think now that I'm working, the desire to study has grown. Like when it's kind of forced on you, you're like, okay, like I'll just submit this assignment, get it done with. But now it's like what I know is me kind of building my toolkit, right, in the work field. So I need to be more selective, but I also need to be sure that the time that I spend on studying and learning new things, it's going to be of value for me and for my personal brand. It's something that I can proudly say, like, this is a skill that I know your company needs that I have, right?
Becoming a thought leader.
Yes, exactly. So it's harder, I think. It's something that I'm still learning to do, but something that I haven't thought about as a student.
What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to create this personal brand a bit more by passing CFA level 1, which I have an exam in August, because I will be joining PwC in financial services, and I graduated in a Bachelor of Commerce in Finance. So I thought it makes sense to start to specialize in that area.
For sure. And I don't think there's ever a downside to obtaining a CFA or a CPA. Like such degrees, they're recognized and appreciated for a reason, right? So the fact that you can make time and put in the effort to do that for yourself is great. I think there's some insanely brilliant marketing campaigns that truly
name your favorite one. As a marketing consultant, you must have one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know this one might be a little bit outdated, But honestly, one of my favorite campaigns ever, and it's one of my favorite ones because it's local to Toronto. It's the Sick Kids Versus campaign. Now, previously, Sick Kids, most of their marketing campaigns were showing kids that are ill in hospital beds with, all of these IVs attached to them, right? And they were kind of asking for donations out of pity, right? And, look at these kids, like, they really need your help. But then when the Versus campaign launched, it was showing how the kids are conquering their illnesses. They were in superhero capes. They were like climbing mountains together, right? It was this huge campaign where essentially it was saying that these kids aren't just weak kids you should have pity for. These kids are fighters. They are warriors. They are survivors. And it kind of created this uproar of like, I want to support these kids.
Those who are going to have an opportunity if you help them out.
Exactly. And it's more like a look at these kids who aren't necessarily in the best health conditions, kick ass, right? Like, and that apparently did actually skyrocket donations at that time for Sick Kids. So it's one of my favorite campaigns because it's completely twisting the concept and also just the overall image of the brand. And I personally think that it's so empowering to watch. So yes, that's definitely one of my favorite campaigns. And I know this is also so outdated, but like the Mac versus PC campaign, I mean, it's a marketing classic.
1984 one or?
I think that isn't that the OG one where like
the people are like in dictatorship, they just look like that in the screen. Is that the one you're referring to?
The person where someone is in like a t-shirt and jean is like, hey, like I'm the Mac, and a person in a full suit looking a little bit more boring is like, oh, like I'm a PC. And then they have these conversations about how Mac is young, is cool, is modern, and PC is so like uptight and
I love to find old ads sometimes. For
sometimes
example,
they're just so good.
One about have you seen one about old advertisement about Excel? How the guy so the guy comes to work and he didn't complete his Excel spreadsheet, and it's just like 90s, I guess. And so Excel is not around that much, but it's invented. And he's standing with his colleague in the elevator, so they're going up, and he's like, well, you have to make something up. You say that you're sick, and he's like, don't worry about it. And he just opens his computer and he does all the shortcuts in Excel who allow him to save so much time that he is able to complete this very basic spreadsheet, but in the elevator.
Right. Oh my god.
Yeah. Another type that I really like is rivalry ads.
Yes.
So, for example, Pepsi versus Cola is very famous. Have you seen one where a young boy buys the one made by Pepsi? So he buys so this Pepsi advertisement. He goes to a vending machine and he puts a coin. He buys himself a bottle of Coke. He puts it away. Then he puts another coin and he buys another bottle of Coke. He puts it away, and now he stands up on the two bottles of Coke, and now he can reach the button for Pepsi, and he takes the Pepsi and walks away.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm Team Coke. I'm offended. No.
and typically the brand who is slightly underperforming is the one making the rivalry, not necessarily. Another one that I absolutely love, it's just the one that came up to my mind that I initially wanted to share. It's about the CEO of, if I believe, Mercedes, who recently retired, and so it shows his last day at work. So he exits his office, everybody applauds them, like the whole office comes to say final bye. He sits down in his Mercedes car, drives back home, parks it into the garage, and the last image we see, the garage opens again, and he comes away in his BMW, and it says, "Now you're free."
Oh
and this is a BMW advertisement that he can now drive what he wants to drive, which is a BMW.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I think like witty advertisements like that, you just see, you never forget it, you know? And I do think and this is just a personal opinion, but I feel like now so much of the advertisements are happening on TikTok, on Instagram, and it's super short. And you probably notice this as well. There's so many ads that are now product reviews, like different influencers doing product reviews. And I think that's really cool, but there are days where I kind of miss the like witty ads on TV. But you don't really like, no one watches TV anymore, right? So I guess you do see it a little bit on like YouTube, for example, but I do think the OG ads, it's unbeatable.
Well, the new trend is an advertisement made by customers that you didn't pay to create this ad, right?
Yeah.
The customers just make something that becomes a trend,
and then which it's really hard to dictate what's going to become trendy, right?
It can be negative trend, right? You don't have as much of a control over it.
And what a lot of brands are doing is they're working with these influencers, and when you're just scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, if you don't see the name of the brand that posted it, you think it's your favorite influencer promoting a product, but you actually realize it's the companies paying these influencers to film it, and then the company's accounts boosts it as an ad. So you think that if you are just kind of mindlessly scrolling, you think it's an authentic review when it's actually an ad. And influencer marketing is a whole new topic that is just booming right now as well.
I think enough about Deloitte. I want to explore your prior history, if I may.
Yeah.
So one thing that unites me and you is that we both got into Big Four without prior internship there.
Yeah.
So how was that experience to you? I imagine you applied somewhere in August and September.
Yeah.
Have you done any prior networking? Do you have any cool stories of what made you stand out?
Of course. Well, honestly, for me, like I briefly mentioned in my intro, I was set for P&G. I'm like, this is where I want to stay. I love CPG, and honestly, I thought that for quite a while. But when I got to the point of realization that, oh my gosh, I need to look for another job, it was early fourth year, and I've never considered consulting in my life. I'm like, there's no work-life balance. Like, I don't want to do consulting. So I never had consulting in mind.
No work-life balance confirmed?
No. Oh, well, okay, we'll get to that later. But I honestly think that, and the only reason why I applied to a consulting role was because it was literally titled Advertising, Marketing, and Commerce. I don't think I would have applied to any other consulting role, and I actually didn't. I didn't apply to any other consulting role. But now I was like, oh shoot, like I need to prep for case interviews. I need to prep for consulting style behavioral interviews. And at this point, I didn't know anyone at Deloitte. But there was an event where Deloitte invited students to come explore the office. So I made it my goal. I'm like, I'm going to hunt down the recruiter for this specific team, and I want to meet as many people as I can during the networking event. So I went in, spoke to one of the recruiters who referred me to the recruiter that is actually in charge of the advertising, marketing, commerce team. And I approached the conversation with, I have a question for you, and I really want to learn about your personal growth and journey here at Deloitte. And then when she kind of gave me the opportunity to introduce myself, I kind of layered my experience in marketing. And I think a lot of the times recruiters, a lot of students go to them with questions of, oh, like, how can I find this person? How can I get the job? They don't really ask recruiters a lot about their journey.
2 questions. First, are you hiring? And second, can I have a job?
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of see recruiters as kind of the quick touch point. Yeah. And which, I mean, a lot of their role is to kind of connect good talent to the company. Like, that is their role. But I wanted to kind of start up a conversation with her first. And then when I brought up my previous experiences in marketing and also in social media at RBC, she was like, hey, I think it'd be really great for you to speak to actually one of the consultants that are here as a rep. Now, funny story, the consultant was sick and wasn't able to make it. So I actually never met anyone from my team prior. But after that, I came home, messaged the recruiter on LinkedIn and saying like, hey, like, thank you so much. I learned so much about like your growth at Deloitte. Here's my resume, just as an FYI, and I would love to chat if you can, like for a longer period of time, just to hear more about the organization and also just the position as well. And she actually referred me, and that's how I kind of got
very similar stories.
Got the role. Yeah, but and we kind of talked about this on the phone before I came here today, but you really can't just hope that you can show up to a networking event and miraculously someone will walk up to you and you're going to get the job, right? Like, I think a lot of people...
You come there with an intention to... I mean, that's my mentality.
Yeah.
When you and by the way, the Deloitte event that you have mentioned, I think I've been there a year ago.
Oh, no
is that the one that you... Like they move you to different rooms and you meet different divisions of Deloitte?
It's called Discover Deloitte. Yeah,
I've been there. Great food.
Great food.
A great building. Like people. The food was.
I agree. The food is 10 out of 10.
Good marketing. When I went to PwC event, similar one, although it wasn't application based, it was like restricted. They send in invites to selected people. They select people.
Oh wow.
That was for those who organize events. They gave me Uber voucher, which was also a very nice touch.
That's so nice.
I'm very easy to bribe. Like, food and Uber, like
food and Uber, done.
Yeah,
done.
I'm going there.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, yeah. So I when you go to an event, you go with intention to first of all have fun, try to do that, and second, no matter the outcome, I still learn something today.
Yeah.
So you don't go there with that. I need to have 3 referrals, otherwise today is a failure. Like that is a wrong mentality.
I agree. And one of my favorite quotes ever is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And it's one of my favorite quotes because
I'll put you as those who said that.
Oh, I'm sure it's some old like Roman quote, but I've had students come up to me and say, "Oh, you got so lucky! Like you like met this recruiter, they actually responded to you, or like you went to the event and you were actually able to like run into this person that's kind of relevant to your team." And the thing is, if I didn't prepare in advance, if I didn't do the research, right, even if I met those people, I wouldn't have the skills and the ability to kind of hook them in, right, and actually build that relationship. So I personally think it's an excuse if when people are like, oh, like they just got lucky. Like once you're prepared and you put yourself in those positions, then luck will come and you'll actually be able to turn that luck into an opportunity.
Fair enough. Right. I also would say that like sometimes you do get lucky, but you also do it 100 times.
Yeah.
So you maximize your chances to getting lucky. It's not that Erin have went once to a networking event and once she contacted recruit. She probably have done it multiple times. This was the time that was like, I'm not saying that was the only successful time, but this was the one of the successful ones, right?
And one of my favorite stories ever is how I got my role at RBC. So it is really, really difficult to get an internship role after first or second year. And for my role at RBC, there was this one recruiter that I found on LinkedIn, and she just looked really nice. Like, I'm like, she just looks super friendly. Like, I wanna connect with her. I sent my, message, and she accepted me, yay, but she just never responded. So a couple weeks later, I sent a follow-up being like, hey, like, thank you so much for connecting with me. Like, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself, gave her like a 3-liner and was like, I'd love to connect. No response. By the way, I connected with her in September, right? And then in December, I was like, hey, like, happy holidays. Like, I hope you're really enjoying your holidays.
Nice of you.
Because I care. I hope she has a good holiday. So I'm like, happy holidays. Like, just wanted to let you know, like, for the past few months, these are some of the things I've been working on at school. I'm like, hope you're doing well. No response. Nothing. Applied to RBC. Nothing. Didn't get anything, right? And then come, like, February, I connected with a different recruiter at RBC and they had an exclusive, like, ask us anything kind of calls where they invited some students that they personally knew. And at that event, I asked a question, and my question was, are there mentorship opportunities as an intern, and how do these mentorship opportunities come to fruition, right? And what I didn't know is that the recruiter that I initially liked back in September was on that call as well. So after that call was over, that recruiter messaged me on LinkedIn 4 or 5 months after I first reached out to her, and she goes, weren't you just on that call? And I was like, oh my God, I was. And she's like, can you hop on a call right now? And I was like, right now, like this is crazy. And she's like, yeah, like I thought I remembered your face, like I'm so sorry I never got back to you, I was so busy, but I want to connect with you. So literally the minute after we got on a phone call, and she said, I have this customer relations role that I think you'd be really good at. Can you send me your resume? I'll pass you through internally. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Didn't get that role. And then 2 months later, it was like, or like a month later, it was like early April. I was going to go to Korea to study abroad for the summer. And I just sent her an email, just to say thank you. And I was like, hey, like, I know that I wasn't able to land any roles this year, but I really, really appreciate your support and for believing in me and for sharing my resume to different teams. I still am very much interested in RBC. Like, I really hope that in the future I can connect with you again and maybe improve my resume so that I can hopefully land a role in your organization. She emails me back and goes, RBC Ventures, which never usually hires interns, just released 3 or 4 internship roles. Would you be interested? Like, I'll put your resume through. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be interested. But at this point, right, I've applied to so many roles. I've been in contact with her since September and I didn't get anything. So I was like, okay, sure. Like, I appreciate it. And a week later, I got an interview for a marketing intern role.
Okay, Erin.
And that's the way I got it.
Your story is almost 1-to-1 of how I got into RBC.
What? No,
like I.
That's crazy.
Like, I don't, like, to the point I almost don't believe you, because maybe you like researched it, because like, okay, let me tell you how I got into RBC.
Okay.
I mean, the beginning is different, but like ending is like, okay. So I went to a case competition called ACE, used to be called DECA, for people before 2000. So
I know it as DECA. I'm 2001.
Okay. I am 2000. So I think if you did it high school in Canada, you know it as DECA. That's why.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily age, so don't feel old. Especially because you're younger. But so I went to ACE Nationals in Toronto. I did some preliminary rounds, and in ACE you can choose a category that you're doing. So I chose a category which was new.
Oh, cool.
And so not a lot of people actually knew what's going on there. And then when I came there, it turned out that this category is sponsored by RBC. So I am meeting different people there, and RBC is also presenting like what RBC is for different students, and there's like 100 students there, and the person who's presenting is vice president of RBC strategy. The very, very, very incredibly smart but a bit of intimidating woman who like, if you watched I'm hopefully she's not watching that, but if you watch like Devil Wears Prada, the lady over there, she's like that. She's very boss. Strict, very, very much girl boss. And I think people were intimidated to talk with her after, because when she was done, all these people just stand up and left. And so I was the only one who actually talked to her, because, you cannot intimidate me. And I talked with her there. I talked with her during a case competition. I, just came to say bye and then connected with her. And then I immediately, reached out. So I asked her to refer me, and she did refer me. I did an interview, and then I got rejected. Then I decided just to message her one more time to say thank you. I didn't even plan anything. So I just messaged her and said, Miss, thank you very much for your support. And I was rejected on the last round. It was between me and a different candidate. And she was like, don't worry about it. I will help you again. she referred me to a different position. And I also thought that that's a waste of time, because I already got very disappointed. I'm not going into
you're kind of
RBC this time.
drained. Yeah.
And then I kind of felt bad, and I wanted to meet with her in person. And then I decided let's like book a coffee chat to just chat. So she's like, yeah, she'll come to the office. We booked it in like 2 weeks in advance, but then they invite me to an interview randomly, which happens in the same day where I'm coming to a chat with her in the office.
That's literally meant to be.
And I'm coming, and so the time between my first interview and the offer was less than 12 hours. So this happened like that. I come to her office, I do a chat with her. She's like, oh, so what's the position? Hopefully I can share. I mean, I'm not working there. She's like, what's the position? I tell her the name of the position. And she's like, oh, the boss of your boss is right here next door. Do you want to meet her? So I'm like, sure. And she's like, oh, yeah, come on in. Like, oh, hey, that's Taras. She's applying to this position. Wink, wink.
Oh, my God.
I think he's a great guy. They're like, okay, we'll keep that in mind. So I do this interview, and the interviewer is like super, my future boss. Maybe he will actually come. I want him to come as one of the persons, because related to consulting still.
Oh, cool.
And I had a great chat, and then like hour after an interview, once I'm like Ubering home, he calls me and he's like, hey, like it went great. Can we do like the second round today in like a couple of hours? I'm like, sure. I do a second round over the phone with his boss. And then 2 hours, less than 1 hour after the second round, I go to the gym and I give it a call and like, hey buddy, you got an offer. So,
oh my God, that's crazy. I mean, if both of our stories have taught the listeners anything, is it really isn't over until it's over. Like, I think
never give up.
And I think these recruiters, a lot of students don't understand, but like for them, the persistent like energy of the students and the consistency, like it shows that you really care and passionate about this job. And it's the recruiter's job to find good candidates, right? If you can prove and consistently show that you're a good candidate, there's no reason for them to not like you or reject you. Right?
You need to believe that they want you as much as you want them.
Yes.
Or even more.
I agree.
I know sometimes it's hard, right? Because it's a billion-dollar company, and you feel that they do get a lot of candidates, but they still want to hire hopefully the best, which is you.
Yes, exactly. Which is you clearly. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't talk to the VP of strategy, but I think they definitely could see my genuine approach to this recruitment process. And clearly they could see that I am someone who's eager to learn. I actually want to grow within the organization. I want to be mentored and learn from the people, the culture, the work, right? And I think the way they view us, they can see kind of the sparkle in our eyes of those students. And once you can communicate that to the recruiters the best of your ability, then I really don't think there's a reason for them to reject you, right?
Fair enough. I wanted to ask, so when you were recruiting for Deloitte, that was already after the end of your internship in P&G.
Yes.
Does P&G get return offers? How? Because I know that's not as typical as in consulting.
I think this solely 100% depends on the organization and the team. P&G do give return offers, but the percentage of the students getting return offers varies every year. Same with consulting. There's a lot of peers that I started with that had completed an internship at Deloitte, but there's so many people like you and me where they're just kind of new grads and they got hired through the new grad cycle. So that's difficult because I think it really depends on the team's needs and the company's needs.
Do you need to do anything to receive a return offer? Is there even an application process for return offer, or you just get it automatically?
I think typically there's not like an application process, but for a lot of companies, you do either like a presentation at the end of the internship that kind of summarizes and highlights all of your achievements, or the leadership team will kind of have a discussion amongst themselves on your performances. They'll ask different people, like, how was Taraz? Like, I'm sure he was great. And then they have that conversation. And based on that, you hear back about your return offer typically on the last day of the internship.
So by the end of your internship, you know whether or not you're getting
Typically, yes.
there or not, which is nice, because if worst case scenario, even if you're not getting it, you can just resume a hiring process. It's not too late.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
One curious thing I wanted to ask, which is also specifically curious for me, because I will be the one who will doing fairly similar journey to you in 3 months. How was it for you to start in comparison to those who did an internship in your teams and your surroundings? Because I assume they are much more familiar with the environment. Did you think they had a head start in comparison to those who just came straight away without an internship?
Ooh, I think this is a very case-by-case situation. I do think that those who did an internship, the biggest benefit and leverage that they have is that they already built relationships with leaders, with senior consultants and managers who typically get a lot of say in like deciding who they want to hire for their projects.
Because that's what I thought. Like, why would a team lead put you on a project if they have an opportunity to put someone who have completed an internship and they know, right? Assuming there is not enough of a project. I think,
and you're completely right. Like, a lot of team leads will choose to pick people that obviously they know and are hard workers instead of risking it with a complete newbie. But I do think even if you were an intern or if you're just completely fresh and a new hire, there is that first 3-month-ish transition period where they just kind of view you all as babies. And my coach at Deloitte is someone I really, really look up to a lot. And one thing she told me is, like, if you look at your career as a person, right? Because people have like 40, 50-year careers these days. If you look at your career as a person, you are currently 0 months old, right? And if you think of a person's life at 0 months old, all you know how to do is breathe, right? And so she basically is saying, don't be so hard on yourself that you don't know everything right now. Like, you are going to be working likely for the next 40 years, and you need to understand that right now is those baby steps for you to make mistakes and learn and to build those relationships. So now when I'm kind of feel like because I think especially in consulting, it's so easy to feel inferior to others, right? So I think having that mentality of like, you know what, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to learn. I'm just going to learn from these people. If I make a mistake, ouch in the moment, but I'll get better. I'm literally just starting out my career. I think that mentality is really important.
So if you're 0 years old, the best thing you can do is just to not cry too much to annoy people around you.
Yeah, exactly. Eat well, like get some exercise in. But yeah, I think like it is really hard being a new grad and not knowing anyone, especially not having any consulting related experiences in the past to go in. But another really great thing about consulting is that the learning that you'll do there is exponential. Like, within the first month of consulting, I knew things that I never even imagined existed a month ago, right?
Shortcuts?
Well, Excel shortcuts are always helpful.
But I would actually claim that you in the long run have an advantage over those who only had consulting experience prior to joining consulting, because you had some exposure to an industry, so you have this unique point of view when you're dealing with clients.
But I think that's, and to your point, is realizing that they hired you for a reason. Like, I felt like when they hired me, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I'm just going to be so, devoted to this organization. But they hired you because they think that you're an asset to the organization. So clearly you have something to bring to the table. And for me, and I wasn't sure if I, exactly, because I'm like, am I good enough to do this? But I have like leaders asking me questions about the CPG industry because they've never been in the industry. And when I'm answering these questions, it kind of feels like basic questions, but it's not something that anyone would really like know unless they've worked in the industry before. Like no company secrets or anything, but like aside from company specific things, like just in general about the industry. So at one point, I was doing a series of like kind of interviews with different leaders that wanted to learn more about the industry. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like I am so junior in this company, but clearly even my short internship experience in the past is creating value in this company, and that's why I'm here.
Is helping you to stand out.
Exactly.
Right? Because, this is the girl who worked in P&G. We should probably utilize her in the consumer industry
And I
project.
think one thing that I really learned as well, especially in consulting, is you probably won't have the answer to everything. So it's your job, and it's okay to not have the answer to everything and to not know everything, but you need to know who to go to give you those answers, right? And
aren't we supposed to go to you if we don't know answers?
So it's like no matter what position you are, even if you're an analyst or a consultant, senior consultant, manager at whatever level, senior, even partner level, if you don't have the answers, and which is totally okay.
Whoa. Do you claim that partners don't know everything? Yes.
Let's say I never cut. You can totally keep that. But even partners,
be open to ask for help and be open to an idea that you don't know everything and nobody does.
And it's so much more better just to say, hey, listen, I don't have this information for you right now, but let me take this back. And I'll definitely get an answer for you, instead of just trying to be like, I think it's this, right?
What's the corporate lingo for "I will get back to you"? There's this. I saw that on TikTok. That, for example, they say, "Let's not boil the ocean," when they want to say, "Let's not do something pointless."
Oh, true. I mean, I think "I'll get back to you" is still "I'll get back to you."
Okay. Let's circle back.
Circle back. Yes, let's circle back to this. Yeah. No, but I think being kind of honest and transparent, but you can't just say, oh, I don't know the answer, right? You always have to provide a solution to what you don't know. And I think that's what really differentiates like a very mid-junior level analyst or consultant versus someone who's really as outstanding performer is, even if I don't know, I will find a way to find the answer and get back to you.
So, for example, you say, hey, let me research this and talk with these people, and I will get back to you by this point.
Exactly. And another tip that I got in being a really successful junior member in a consulting firm is not being afraid to kind of say, hey, I actually think moving slide 10 to 3 would make more sense for the narrative. What do you think about this type of narrative? Like being actually having a voice and pitching those ideas. And there has been a time where I was working one-on-one with one of my senior managers, and he was like, what do you think about this? And I was like, actually, I think this question is more relevant to ask. And he was like, great, I think you're right?
And that's how they remember you.
It's scary and daunting, but you would rather be remembered as the person asking those bold questions than someone that they don't remember at all. And I think being in consulting, the scariest thing is being forgotten.
Well, that's why we joined consulting in the first place. Have you watched a movie, In the Pursuit of Happiness?
I'm really not a movie person. I'm so sorry. I know everyone hates me for it. My friend, my boyfriend, everyone hates me for it. But, it is what it is.
With Will Smith, I believe. That's okay. Watch it with someone, I guess. Don't watch it with your boyfriend. It's not very romantic. No.
Oh, no.
They break up there.
Oh.
He's like prioritizing work over his marriage.
Oh my gosh.
But it's about a guy who is from a very, very poor class. He lives incredibly broke, and he is able to impress a managing director at an hedge fund.
Oh, okay.
And he is able to get an internship together with 20 other people. He's the only black guy in the firm, the only intern, and the internship is unpaid. So now he needs to figure out how to make money because he cannot work. He needs to work there full time, and by the end of the internship, only one person out of 20 gets selected. But this is like incredible position, and this is a real story. The real guy,
Oh, okay.
and this all is about and his wife leaves him because he becomes even more broke. So he have to leave the house, and she leaves him, but doesn't take his son. So the son, like, they have like literally no money. They have to sleep.
No.
They have to sleep in the homeless shelters. And in the morning he wakes up and he goes to this amazing company, and it's about like how he's on the brink of collapse in this movie. It's very hard movie to watch, but this is all about also not giving up, and also about how to be able to stand out in the crowd of other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
That's
want
awesome.
romantic movies for the boyfriend time, I will.
Yeah,
give it to you. I have less knowledge about that, but okay, we're almost done. I just wanted to touch a bit about your experience at the Rotman, because you've been president of not one but two clubs, maybe more. That's the one.
No, just two.
So you've been president of Rotman Commerce Marketing Association,
Yes,
and another one which was incredibly interesting for me. So Korean commerce community.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about both. So with Rotman Marketing Association, did it help you in any way with two of your internships and your full-time position? Was it there to support you?
To be honest, I think a lot of Rotman clubs, one, they provide those networking opportunities for sure. But I think the biggest reason why I stayed in RCMA for short, and why I wanted to pursue a presidential role in that organization, was because of the people. Like, yes, they were supportive and all, but I wouldn't confidently say that, oh, I got my internship role because of RCMA. I don't think that's true. I think you have to work individually hard regardless of the associations. But I think what was really great was I got to network and talk with alumni or people that are older than me that have pursued different internships, and they were providing me their honest perspectives in a very safe space. And I think another really big thing about these organizations is that if you are a member in an RC club, you're not necessarily just learning about whatever, like marketing, finance, consulting, whatever it may be. You are being event planners. You are being people that are reaching out. You are doing so much more that's just than just the name of the club. And I think the biggest things that I learned within RCMA is how to honestly be a project manager, which is a skill that 90% of corporate roles I feel like require, maybe even higher than that. And even as a consultant, a lot of the times, especially in strategy, your job consists of a lot of effective and efficient project management, right? And those are skills that I really think I built within RCMA.
Managing people and events.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing that I learned also during my time as president is I never viewed myself as above or higher than any of the...
You missed on it. That's the beauty.
Like, because what I've come to realize is that all the directors that I'm working with, they're all way better at their job than I am. Like, we
have a different management mentality, definitely.
It's like they are better and more smarter at the way that they reach out to companies or executives. They, like, the events directors are clearly so much more knowledgeable about how to plan events within the school.
Finding right people for the right position is
like
is
the marketers, like the marketing directors, they make way better Canva posters than me, right? So it's kind of humbling in the sense that I'm not a president just so that I can order people around. It's kind of, I'm president because I'm helping all of these people that are super good at their jobs work well with each other, right? And I think that was a really, really tremendous skill that I got to learn in that role. And of course, there's a lot of perks that comes with the name. Like, because we're RCMA, there were a lot of like corporate sponsors that wanted to work with us. We also got great amount of like funding to kind of be able to...
Which you appropriated.
clearly
10% was the fee.
Pizza party every week. But it was
buying yourself a new car, and this is a club expense.
Oh, well, whoever's being the president next year can maybe explore that option.
Okay, we need to audit these people. Like,
No, literally. Oh my gosh.
and let's say I'm a first year Rotman Commerce student. How can I choose which is the club for me? Because we have so many, right?
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
tens of them at least.
I honestly think it's best to choose for the people, because, and this is what I tell to anyone kind of questioning what type of clubs they would join, or any first years, whatever it may be, is, to be honest, the work that you're actually doing in those clubs is pretty similar across the board. And I think the blessing of being a Rotman student or U of T student is that you get to attend the remarkable events they host. Like, for example, let's say I really love the people at RCMA, so I want to help out within RCMA, but I'm actually kind of interested in the RC fashion group, for example. I'm still allowed to attend all the events that the fashion group hosts, and I'm still learning from all of the resources that the fashion group is connected to by attending those events. But the skills that you gain from being in an RC club is pretty consistent throughout the RC clubs. You're either in events and you're supporting with event management. You're either in, or you're in finance and you're helping the club manage its funds, or you're in marketing, you're helping the club make marketing posters and managing the Instagram account, right? So in nature, the work itself is similar. So always see what type of people inspire you. Yeah. And what type of people you want to grow from. Do you like the hierarchical structure of this club, right? And really being immersed in the club community, I think really at least benefited me, both in RCMA and both within the Korean commerce community.
And I shall also add that try explore opportunities that you have never heard about. So like if you don't know, for example, in my last year of undergrad, even while I was already with an offer from PwC, I went to a real estate club event just because I wanted to explore.
That's so cool, yeah.
And it wasn't even U of T. I think it was TMU or something. And I went to a couple of events where the developers invite students who study real estate to just show them the buildings and explain how they make it and how they're going to lease it.
Right.
So, and especially if you're doing this in the first and second year, you may discover passion that you have never thought about.
Right.
So don't just join University of Toronto Consulting Club of University of Toronto, or Open Commerce Consulting Club. Like just be a bit more creative than that.
Yeah.
What is Korean Commerce Society?
So the University of Toronto Korean Commerce Community, very long name, is a group of Korean students that are supporting students in the Korean community that want to pursue anything related to business. So essentially, you can think of it as like kind of the University of Toronto Business Association, like UTBA. The purpose is, I think, pretty similar, but we're specifically tailoring to Korean students. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't want to join in first year initially because I'm like, I don't want to be kind of bounded by only Koreans. Like I want to be like everyone and learn from people with different backgrounds and experiences. But one of the biggest reasons why I joined was because there was a community that maybe I can relate to more because I'm Korean, right? And it's not really something that I thought of in high school. In high school, I was like, I just want to join all like super diverse clubs and all that, and which I still think I got the opportunity to through RCMA and other clubs that I was a part of. But there was something so rewarding about giving back to the Korean community, especially because a lot of these students, they didn't go to high school in Canada. They don't really know the Canadian schooling system or the recruitment processes in Canada. And they're more used to things the way that things are done in Korea. But they're really actively trying to learn about how recruiting is done in Canada, how the school system works, like how important extracurriculars are, which is again very different from Korea. And it was really rewarding to be in this community where everyone is rooting for each other to make that transition together. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, that's amazing that you are able to find a community that relates both to your culture and the area of study, right? Because I am familiar with business communities, and I know there is like Korean society, Chinese society, and so on. but they're able to integrate them together to
I
find
know.
people who are
Very
going to be
cool.
both in your industry
Yeah.
and of your culture. That's amazing.
It was great. And there were definitely ups and downs because
I feel left out. Like
No, because I would consider myself like 1.5 generation, meaning like I don't think I'm fully first generation, but I don't think I'm completely second generation.
Is your parents
Canadian.
born here?
I was born in Korea, actually. So like, but I came at a pretty young age, so I'm like, I think I'm considered a 1.5 generation.
But with parents though, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, makes sense. I was the first person like ever in my family to step to this country. Like no one have ever been here.
Oh
and the
my
first time I came here
gosh.
was to study, so I haven't been here before.
Right. So there was a lot of students like yourselves in the Korean commerce community, but a lot of students found it kind of difficult to navigate, obviously, the Canadian ways of working, both in a school setting and in society in general. But there was a really, really strong alumni network of really inspiring Koreans that graduated from U of T that were religiously coming back every year to continue to strengthen these communities and support the Korean community and the students. And one of actually the most rewarding things that we did when I was president is we created this case competition that we've never done before. But the intention of the case competition was supporting Koreatown right after COVID. And the whole pitch was, how can small business owners in Koreatown recover post-COVID? So we actually shared
do a bit of pro bono work.
Exactly. And it was so rewarding because we had a lot of great personal relationships with a lot of small business owners in Koreatown because they were sponsoring us. So for us to kind of give back to them as well and saying, hey, these are what the top students in Toronto are saying about ways that you can improve your business post-COVID. And we were actually able to share this result back with those business owners. So it was really rewarding because growing up in the more suburban area of GTA, there weren't a lot of opportunities for me to connect with my heritage and with my people. And I think this was really the opportunity for me to kind of find that community in myself again as well.
Amazing. I wish my community was doing things like that. So I'm very, very jealous. And I'm very glad that you had something like that.
It was great.
Wrapping up, I think that it's more than fair to give you a platform to perhaps give a final advice to those who are maybe still studying or about to join an industry like me, perhaps talking a bit about what should they be doing and the main advice you want to give to people in life.
Oh, this is hard, and I think it's actually changed for me quite a lot. Yes, if you asked Aaron who just graduated, I think I would say don't settle on one goal. And what I mean by that is I think as a student, it's so easy to say, oh, this is what I want to do, and just only go towards that goal.
The meaning of my life is to enter Goldman Sachs. That's
like, yeah, things like that. Because I experienced that, and my end goal was P&G. But because it was like that, I had so many opportunities to explore consulting, to explore real estate, to all of these other opportunities. But because I thought in my mind that's the end goal that I wanted, I neglected the other opportunities that were coming towards me. But once I got that realization of like, okay, like this was great, but maybe this isn't what I want to do after grad, that's when I started to open books and open doors towards everything else. And I was like, wait, maybe consulting is kind of cool. Right. And hey, like maybe, there's other industries other than CPG that are interesting to me. So I think, and I don't want to say don't set goals, but maybe try not to be so settled on one goal where it limits you from trying other opportunities. Because as a student, that's when you get to do anything, and it's okay because you're a student. Like you can try something and people will say, oh yeah, good job, and no matter what it is, because you are at that stage in life where that's what you're meant to do, explore different opportunities.
And I think this advice goes beyond just career search. by setting goals in your undergrad which are even non-related to career will leave you a much more fulfilled person, right? The community that you mentioned, right? Friends,
Exactly.
clubs, everything of that. You will look back in your university years and realize that this was not only a stage to get a job. This
Yeah.
was, life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think an advice that I would share now in my corporate career, especially in a space where personal branding is huge, is don't define your end goal or your dream as a career or a position. Like, don't say, oh, my dream is to become a partner at a big four firm, or my dream is to become the president of this huge company.
Define it by salary. No.
Like, your dream should be a sentence. And what I mean by that, I mean, what I just said was also sentences as well, but your dream shouldn't consist of just your job. Like, now I'm trying, because one of the leaders that I really am inspired by at Deloitte, her dream is to be at a point where all non-for-profit organizations get the resources that, or similar level of resources as for-profit organizations to do good in the world. Right?
That's a big goal.
It's a big goal. And it's a very difficult goal. But the way that she's doing that is she is within the firm supporting a lot of not-for-profit organizations in making those technological advancements that for-profit organizations will typically do, right? But she is a really successful leader in the organization.
I think another thing about that goal that you mentioned is that her goal is not about her. Not only about her, it's also about others.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, that's when I had
we're such a nice people.
Yeah. And that's when I'm like, yeah, like, I never just want to be defined by my job, but it's like, there's two perspectives to this. Is one, okay, let's say I got to the level of partner. What type of partner do I want to be? Who are the type of people I want to work with? Who do I want to help? What type of companies do I want to support? And what causes can I support in this role, right? And the second part to this is that once you get to that job, does your dream end?
Yeah.
Right? Once you reach partner, it's like, oh, my dreams came true. I'm done.
The life is over. Everything else is just
exactly.
credits.
So your dream shouldn't be defined as a job. It should be an elaboration of what type of individual you want to become. And I think thinking about that feels very adult, first of all. But I also think, like, in that way, it becomes a kind of framework into how you can build your personal brand as well, and how you can show different leaders or different people you network with, like, these are my passions, and this is what I'm doing to pursue my passions as much as I can in the workplace that I'm provided with.
Erin, thank you for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
I loved the chat. It was amazing.
This was such a great chat.
I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I really had a good time. Thank you for having me.
Oh.